So good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, taking time from your busy schedules to be here at the webinar on stress hosted by the Texas Center for Integrative Psychiatry. We're so glad you're here. So a little bit introduction to what we will be doing today. So everybody experiences stress, but we often don't recognize its full impact on our minds and bodies, especially in today's busy world where we just want to go from one point to point B and we think that we're taking care of ourselves, or we know, or we have it all under control, right? And here at the Texas Center for Integrative Psychiatry, we believe in a whole person approach to mental health, one that connects the mind, body, and emotions. Today, we'll explore the science for stress, how it manifests in unexpected ways, and most importantly, how we can take back control and find balance. And so in today's webinar, I am honored to be presenting alongside with Maria Farooqi, the clinical pharmacist with Center for Integrative Psychiatry with specialty in functional medicine and functional psychiatry. Hello, Maria. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Irum. Thank you for having me on with you.
It's an honor. Thank you so much. So one of the stats that we have about stress that you can see on the screen right now, right? That a lot of the things, the 75 to 90% of all visits to healthcare providers result from stress-related disorders. And we're going to discuss a story here, and we're going to discuss what is stress, basically. So general definition, stress is something that we feel inside our body when we know that something is not happening correct with us, when we are anxious about something. Usually people think that when they are consciously worried about something, that is what is causing them stress, right? However, stress is a body's natural response to perceived challenges and threats. Again, perceived challenges and threats. And scientifically, it activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, the HPA axis, releasing cortisol and adrenaline and preparing the body for a fight-flight response. And there are two types of stress usually: the acute stress, short-term, situational. For example, I'm driving on a highway, I see that there's a lot of traffic, and probably, okay, just throw in the weather also, and it's foggy and I can't see the car in front of me and the headlights are on, and I'm like, I'm stressed until either the weather clears or I'm at my destination. That is acute stress. And then there's chronic stress, like long-term, ongoing financial struggles, bad relationships, health risks, etc., right? And so the mind-body connection in the stress is there's a neurological impact, which I'll be talking about, and there's a physiological impact, which Maria will be talking about. Let's take a story of, let's say, John. So John is a healthy 42-year-old guy. He eats well, he exercises, he has good family relationships, he's a loving husband, loving dad, finances are taken care of, 9-to-5 job, goes with families on trips, etc., etc. But recently what has happened is he started feeling a lot of headaches, sharp headaches, migraines, that he's really like shocked. Like, this is happening to me. I've never had migraines. He thought that maybe it's his eyesight as well. He goes into the doctor, his blood work as well. Everything comes out okay. And the doctor says, you know what? Everything on the paper seems okay, but it might be that you're stressed. And he says, stress? Like, stress for what? And he says, well, stress can manifest in different ways. For example, there's a mind-body connection, again, which we just talked about, right? It might be that you are not consciously thinking that you have stress, but you are taking stress of completing tasks, of being on time, of traffic, maybe something that has changed over time, maybe gradually, not suddenly, and it is accumulating in your mind. That might be causing you. Then the doctor says that there is a connection between the stress and the physical pain. It's the gut-brain connection. Again, I'm going to let Maria talk about it. I'm not going to explain further. Then it says that it might be a nervous system overload. It might be inflammation and immune response. And we will be discussing all of this as we go along. So when John realizes that, okay, so something that I'm consciously or subconsciously aware and half semi-aware of, this is what, and then he asks the doctor, okay, what do I need to do? How do I get rid of this pain? What is it that I should be doing? And he says, fine. There are certain things that will help you. For example, apart from your healthy lifestyle of doing exercise, of eating healthy, breathwork and relaxation, the body awareness and stretching, unplugging and downtime, mindfulness and reframing. And we will be talking about this, inshallah ta'ala, once we come to this point. The next slide, please. So before we come to the physiological health, I just want to just give the cognitive effects of stress, because it seems sometimes to us that we like to uplift everybody around us, right? We like to say to everybody, "Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I know this stress you, but something good might come out of it." And yes, it's a good thing to look at things in a positive outlook, but too much of it might also cause us stress. So we need to acknowledge something that is happening to us, or the something that we're feeling, or the emotions we are feeling, because there are cognitive effects of stress, which are like, for example, impaired memory and concentration. For example, I'm in a meeting right now, I'm talking to you in a webinar, and suddenly, because I might be stressed because I have to present for the webinar, I might forget. I might be like, I was about to, and in my head I'm thinking, and then I start like panicking, like I was supposed to say this and I forgot my lines, right? That is called the impaired memory or concentration. You could help it by mindfulness meditation, by different brain work activities, by physical exercise. Another cognitive impairment may be reduced decision ability. For example, we make either impulsive choices. We know that something is not good for us. In driving, again, driving comes to me very quickly, because I think I need to improve my driving. I don't know the reason, but you know that it's not okay for you to cut the car, but you know that if you don't, you might lose your turn. Now, a person who is not stressed, who is not anxious, might say, it's okay if I miss this, I might go a bit further and then I might take the next turn. It's okay. I'll have to go a longer way, but it's okay. As long as I'm safe, the people in the car are safe, that's fine. But when you're stressed and you have this cognitive impairment, what you do is you start like thinking, no, I have to do this now. I have to do the impulsivity. It comes in. It confuses the brain. It confuses our actions as well. Increased negative thinking and rumination. Again, thinking about the past too much, thinking like, oh, if this would have happened, or this would happen, if this would not have happened. And you create scenarios over and over again, going through the same scenario over and over again, which is not helping you. And that's why you say, or you feel that you're stuck in something. Now that causes stress, even that causes those muscle tensions and a heavy weight. Some people have backaches because of all of that negative thinking. Lower creativity and problem solving skills. Another. And how do you help it? You change your environment, you journal, you engage in play activities like drawing, puzzles, or even light games, which boost your creativity. I usually, when I feel a bit stressed, I'm not very good at arts or anything, but I like to color. So I have coloring books and I have a lot of coloring pencils, and I focus on that picture and I color the whole picture. And it really calms me down. It really calms me down. So that's something we do. If you feel mental fatigue and brain fog because of stress, and again, it's very common. People keep forgetting. Where did I put my keys? What was I thinking? What was I doing? What was I going to say? Where did I put the notes, etc.? So you prioritize quality sleep. And we will talk about this in detail, that sleep is essential for us, so that, and even in the physiological health, it is essential so that we can think straight, we can think more clearly, we can have better focus, we can have better concentration, hydration and nutrition, and limit multitasking. Switching between tasks drains cognitive resources. Focus on one task at a time. Inshallah, thank you so much. And now it's over to you, Maria.
Next slide, please. Thank you. So thank you for having me on, Irum. I want to talk about how does stress impact our body, our physiological health, because that's not often understood. We think of stress, the mental health impact on us, but we don't often think about that probably my high LDL or my high cholesterol could be connected to my stress, or my constipation could be connected to stress. So I want to take a few moments to help you understand how that could be connected. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have two parts of our nervous system. Okay, one is called sympathetic, the other is called parasympathetic. Now, sympathetic nervous system is nothing but sympathetic. So I'm not sure why it's called sympathetic. It's part of the autonomic nervous system in our body and is responsible for the fight or flight mode. Okay, so it prepares the body to react to dangers, to threats. So when you see a child falling, say, off top of a doors, you just quickly run over. So that's your sympathetic nervous system like activating. But in some people, this is the key point, in some people, that part of the nervous system is chronically activated. How do you know those people? They're always hypervigilant, okay? They're always on the edge, okay? Then when somebody calls them, there's like a short hello, hi, what do you want? Okay, they're stressed, they're burnt out, they don't sleep well, they're always ruminating, they can wake up middle of the night thinking of the same thoughts. You know, these people have a higher sympathetic activation. Okay, and this can lead to serious health consequences. Next slide, please. Okay, so the two ones I really want us to understand are gastrointestinal health and how it can affect our cardiovascular health. But before I do that, I just want to quickly help you understand that also impacts our immune system. People who are chronically stressed tend to have more infections. They tend to have more allergic reactions, sorry. They tend to have more hay fever. They tend to have more seasonal allergies. They have a slower wound healing. They can also have, as I explained earlier, sleep disturbances. They have an overactive mind. They have high probability of having insomnia because they have a higher levels of stress hormones running in their body. They can also have a very poor quality sleep. So they usually wake up feeling still tired, even though I was lying in bed for 8 hours, and they recover very slowly after an exercise. They tend to have a brain fog. Oh, where did I put that, right? Where did I leave my keys? And they can also have, like Irum mentioned, a lot of muscle tension and chronic pain. They usually have a tight neck, shoulders. They tend to have a jaw pain. They tend to grind their teeth. People who are chronically stressed, they can have a lot of headaches, migraines, and they usually have a higher sensitivity to pain, and they usually come from the doctor's office with the diagnosis of fibromyalgia. You hear quite often in our community that people mention, I have pains because I have fibromyalgia. Well, the question is to ask, why do you have fibromyalgia, right? So I always say, when you have a diagnosis, ask your doctor or ask yourself, why do I have this diagnosis? What's the reason of this diagnosis? And I often want you to consider stress. So if you're a person who thinks, well, I eat well, I sleep well, I do everything, but why do I have this headache? Why do I have this like tightness in my shoulders? I would say, please check your stress level. Next slide, please. Okay, so stress affects our gut, right? We also, Irum alluded earlier to the brain-gut connection. Stress really affects our gut, okay? So because the hormone, the cortisol, needs to be elevated because your stress is trying to support you through a stressful situation, right? When cortisol is elevated, there is a reduced blood flow to your digestive organs, right? When there's a reduced blood flow, do you think you're absorbing nutrients from your food? Most likely, no. You tend to have a reduced gut motility because cortisol says, hey, you're stressed. You don't have time for digestion, okay? We need to divert all our focus and energy to something else. So gut motility also reduces. So you tend to have constipation. Now, when you have constipation, that means you're holding a lot of fecal matter in your gut, right? And that's causing the bad bacteria to multiply and the good bacteria to lessen, which means you do have a microbiome imbalance. What does that mean? You're bloated, you're flatulent, you're gassy, you're burping, you're belching, right? And then you can also have a reduced stomach acid production. That means you are not even metabolizing the food that you have. You're not breaking down. So I say to my clients, you are what you eat. You are what you metabolize, right? Just because I eat protein or vegetables doesn't mean I'm also metabolizing them. There is a possibility that my body is not absorbing the nutrients. And why does that happen? Because I may be stressed that I'm telling my cortisol levels to stay higher, and higher cortisol levels means that my digestive functions are impaired. Therefore, don't be surprised if you feel not hungry when you heard a stressful news, okay? Or you are feeling like this tight muscle, tight knot in your belly. You just feel like, I'm feeling like something's like there's a lead in my, some people say there's a brick in my belly. I don't want to eat, okay? Because that's high stress level. Some people just go to the bathroom. They have like a diarrhea when they hear bad news because your digestive function says, I don't have time to digest this food, dump it out, okay? So this leads to gut inflammation, right? Next slide, please. And what do you do? I have a lead in my stomach. I feel really heavy. Let me just go get Pepto-Bismol, okay? I see this often with parents, with their kids. My son, my child, my daughter is complaining of stomach pain. I'm going to give Pepto-Bismol. Have you considered maybe a child is anxious at school, maybe is being bullied at school, and maybe they have a stomach pain, maybe they are not having the best circumstances at home, maybe a parent is yelling at them too much, maybe somebody is not giving them the affection they need and they're exhibiting through stomach pain. No, we'll go to like Target or CVS store and get a Pepto-Bismol. When we have slow gut motility, what do we take? Laxatives. I need to poop out, right? And people are really distressed when they're constipated. So they run to a grocery store and they need to buy the Senocod, the Dulcolax, the magnesium citrate. Then they have this reduced stomach acid production. One key thing I like to mention here, which I forgot, when we are stressed, the lower esophageal sphincter, the tight junction between our food tract and our belly, loosens up when we are stressed. And that regurgitates the food contents, even if you have low stomach acid. When that regurgitation of stomach contents happens, you feel like this burning sensation in your upper chest, right? So what do? We go to the drugstore and we get Prilosec and Nexium. This is going to fix me, or Pepcid, right? And then we have this like, okay, macrobiome imbalance, then you're experiencing this flatulence, you're passing gas. Flatulence is a fancy word for passing gas. So you have this gas, you have this like, this tension, you're belching, you're burping. Oh, let me get some gas X, right? Nothing works. You're taking everything in your medicine cabinet has a bit of gas X, bit of Senocod, Pepcid. Oh, I need to go see a gastroenterologist because your gut is inflamed. But can you please sit back and think, can this be my stress? That rather than just something is wrong with me inherently, oh, I have the gene for heartburn. My dad always had heartburn, therefore I have the gene for it. And you just, not consider your stress. We then go seek the help of a gastroenterologist. And what will a gastroenterologist do? Prescribe you much more stronger heartburn medication. And I, as a pharmacist, do not recommend long-term use of heartburn medications because they do have a plethora of side effects. Okay, so yes, our stress affects our gut. Next slide. Okay, now how does stress affect our cardiovasculature? When we are acutely stressed, our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up because I need to address the immediate threat. My body needs to make me run, so it increases my heart rate, increases my blood pressure, so I can quickly run over, solve the crisis. But when I'm chronically stressed, I'm keeping my blood pressure constantly elevated. I'm not giving myself the chance to relax, wind down. Okay? Eventually, the elevated high blood pressure can lead to affecting our heart rhythm. So we can have what we call arrhythmias. As you get older, we can get arrhythmias. And high levels of stress has also been linked to dyslipidemia, meaning high LDL. So people say, I eat everything I can, and I do whatever my doctor tells me. How come I have high LDL? Oh, maybe because my father had it, my dad had it. I have a genetic predisposition. Okay, yes, you may have a gene for it, agreed. But we have also allowed the gene to bathe in stress. And stress drives insulin resistance. Stress drives high cortisol. High cortisol drives fat accumulation. Fat accumulation drives insulin resistance. Our cells become unable to be sensitive to insulin. And this eventually leads to host of what we call metabolic syndrome, pre-diabetes to full-on diabetes. Stress causes weight gain, increased adiposity, increased belly fat. Okay, so I tell majority of my clients, you know, when they say, I'm doing everything I can, I say, have you looked at your stress? Increased coagulation, so our blood thickens easily. Endocrine imbalances. So our thyroid gland gets affected. When our thyroid gland affects, it affects our reproductive hormones, which are not just for reproduction, they're for many things. Testosterone for men is needed for not just to have, not just to have babies, or estrogen in women to have babies. It's needed to for our cardiovascular health. It's needed for our bone health. It's needed for our mental health. And then it affects our kidneys. So you have this perfect storm happening as we get older, as we are unable to maintain our stress response. Next slide, please. Then what do? We go to the doctor and we get all these medications on board. I see people with like 60 to 70 diagnosis codes that they can have, right? And they are all these medications, and all these medications, they think they've addressed the issue. Yeah, we are applying Band-Aid approach to these issues, but we are not really understanding the root cause. Why am I experiencing these? And why is it important for me to teach my kids, my grandkids, how to handle stress? Because I know, say I'm a person with a diagnosis of hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, or bone health weakness like osteoporosis. So I know I'm a person who has these genetic predisposition. How will I explain this to my younger generation? That stress handling is so much important because we want to prevent these conditions in our future generation. So I don't want us to feel despondent. So if you feel like you have all of these conditions, some of these conditions, or any of these conditions, I don't want you to think, well, I'm doomed. No, there are ways to arrest the development of these conditions by working on our stress response, which we'll talk in a moment, and to educate the ones in our family. Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is just for fun part. I wanted to throw this in here. So there was, FIFA World Cup was recently in Qatar, Doha, right? And Qatar, Doha's medical team, response team, they wanted to be proactive and diligent in not having a high incidence of heart attacks or cardiac arrest during the event time, because previous FIFA World Cups have shown there has been quite a significant increase in heart attacks in men during these events. Because what's happening, right? You're upset your team lost. Right? You're so emotionally invested that your team was playing, and then you've been invested for like how many years till they make to the final championships, and when they lose, they have a very acute response. Next. Okay, next slide. So I just found this like interesting fact. Admission due to heart attacks increased by 25%. England lost to Argentina. And I know English fans are very die-hard soccer fans, right? And they had a 25% increase in admissions due to heart attacks in 1998. So yes, how we feel emotionally has an impact on our physiological health. And I know there are very similar statistics. You can just Google it, admission rates in hospital on Super Bowl day or the day after. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so there are mind-body techniques which we can look at. There are 4 of them: mind-body techniques, lifestyle factors, connection, community, and supplements. But today, for the sake of time, we are going to focus the ones highlighted in red, and Irum will talk about those. And the lifestyle factors and supplements hopefully will be on a separate webinar. Thank you. Irum.
Love it when Maria speaks. It's a world full of knowledge. Taking notes, scribbling away. Being from the older generation, it's always fun to write. Okay, and so coming back to the mind-body techniques. The stress response can be broken into 4 main stages. The initiating the event. So when stress comes and hits you, right? So the 3 things that you can do as mindfulness, which is practice being present and aware of what's happening without immediately reacting. That knee-jerk reaction that we give, we need to pause it. And how did I start practicing is like, as I imagine that I have a remote control and I'm going in slow-mo and I need to pause myself, especially being a parent, and especially when the children are younger and you have so many things to do, and just the noises around you just trigger you so much and cause you so much stress. Ask any mom of young children. We will all say, hands down, it is extremely stressful for us, right? Although we are very grateful for the blessing, but we get stressed. So before you yell, before you say something, before you want to like feel like as if you want to just say or do something that we will regret later on, pause. The mindfulness, the reframing, to try to see stressful events from different perspective. For example, view a challenge as an opportunity. If I get a feedback after this webinar, oh, you did this, or you did this, or it would have been better if you would have done this, there can be 2 responses. Oh, they don't think I'm good enough, or okay, well, challenge yourself, come up with another webinar, do better next time. Try to be XYZ wherever you lacked, work harder on that. Again, I'm not going to say that we're not talking about, Maria and I, we never said that stress won't happen if we take the preventive measures. We said we will be able to manage it better, to have a better quality of life. The 3rd thing is preparation, which is anticipate potential stressors. For example, deadlines, tough conversations, if you avoid them, you're still stressed. If you face them without preparation, you're still stressed, right? So the first was the initiating the event. The second is the perception. Our perception of an event is shaped by our thoughts, beliefs, and past experiences. So one of the cognitive behavioral techniques is that challenge your negative thoughts. It is proven through different scientific data that the people who go into therapy or the people who work with coaches like myself, when we are challenged with our negative thought, for example, oh, she looked at me like that. So the challenge is, did she really look at me like that? Or was she in her own mindset? Or might she have had a bad day and she is not feeling okay? When you put yourself in that empathetic mindset where the world is not just revolving around you, again, you are getting a better perception and you're doing something which is cutting the negative whispering. Reframe the narrative. Instead of thinking this is too much for me, reframe it as this is a challenge, but I have dealt with tough things before and I have the skills to work through it. As a parent, I say to myself, you are the mom, you're in charge, you're in lead. You might not have all the answers, but you can handle this. They trust you, they love you, you can handle this. Okay, let's start. Where should I begin with, right? And number 3 is response, your body's response to stress is autonomic, but you can influence it through techniques that trigger a calming effect. For example, deep breathing. Practice deep, slow breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, whereas like you, like, okay, let my body relax. Breathe in. Everybody who's watching, you breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. So there are two theories. One, when you breathe out through the mouth, when you let in from your belly, when you blow it out, it helps relieve stress. And when you're okay, when you're like not in an actual threatful moment and you want to steady your breath, right? You're working on something, you've been working on something for so long, and now you're getting tired and fatigued. You have to become conscious of your breath. Once you become conscious of your breath, this is how you breathe. You breathe in from your nose. The thing is, there is scientific data that proves that when you breathe in and breathe out off your nostrils only, your brain gets the message that you are not in a threat. And so your nervous system stays calm. When you are really stressed and anxious, there was once a time when I think I had a dinner or a family get together, a big family get together at my place, and I was at Costco and I was in a rush. I had to clean the whole, I had to make the dishes. I had this, and suddenly, and this was like all out of the blue. It felt as if the walls started to close on me, and I really got scared. But I did know the breathing techniques, and I did this breathing technique, which I'm going to share with you. It's called box breathing. And if you're here with me, I would appreciate if you would do this exercise with me. Ready? All you have to do is follow my instructions, okay? So when I say 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to become alert that, okay, now you're going to breathe. Then I'll count up until 4, you will breathe in. Then I'll say pause, and 1, 2, 3, 4, you will pause. You will not inhale, you will not exhale. Then I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, you will exhale from your mouth. And make sure that it should come from the belly, right? And then I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4 again, because it is a complete box. You will come back to your normal self. So let's do it. Ready? If I get a thumbs up, that's excellent. Great. Okay, so let's do this. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we breathe in again, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to breathe with you. So breathe in, and you have to count by yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4 on your fingers. Breathe in. Pause. Exhale. Break. A whole box. Now, this activity specifically, the Navy SEALs work with this breathing exercise. We all know that they have extreme conditions that they work with, and scientists came up with this breathing activity, which helps them in a very short amount of time to cover their anxiety. Coming back to just repeating what we just learned, that the stress responses are taken into 3 initiatives. The first is the initiating the event. When something strikes you, you are mindful about it, you reframe your thought, you prepare in advance. Like, if this is going to happen, this is how I'm going to react or act, right? Your perception of the situation, your cognitive behavior, how negative or positive, optimistic or realistic you are about a situation. Self-compassion is another thing I forgot to say, that self-compassion, give yourself a break. You know, people say, give yourself a break, which means basically that you tell yourself it's okay. It's okay that you're feeling this way. You do not have to call yourself names saying, why are you stressed? You shouldn't be. You already know this. You should have seen this before. You should have taken this into account. Why did you not? We miss things. We're human beings. We forget. Forgetfulness is one of the human traits. So it's completely okay. And reframing your narrative. And the third thing is the response. The muscle relaxation, the deep breathing, the physical activity. We all know this, that one of the best things that we can do for our mental and physical health is movement, walking, exercising, stretching, yoga, etc. And what will be the effect of all of these, the previous three steps will be that we will have a regular self-care system set up for ourselves. You don't have to get an appointment to do self-care. You are already in a ritual of doing self-care activities. You'll maintain healthy boundaries. You will know that this is something that you can take, and you will be prepared for it. And if something is not if something you already know is going to be stressful for you, you can have a dialogue about it. You can have a tough conversation about it, and then set a healthy boundary about it. Again, we will talk about this in the slide, which is having good community, having a supportive community around us. Next slide, please. So now we're going to talk about the community part. And I'll just very quickly, there are several talks about mental health and about the impact of community. Some of it that you're seeing on the slide, and you can read it out. I won't read it for you. However, we know this over and over again in the next several slides, 2 or 3 slides. The Dr. Julianne Holt, who is a professor of psychology in Birmingham Young University, their TED Talk was about the lack of social connection and how it affects mental health, how it puts people into distress. And the findings that they had was that the people who have social ties, who have strong social ties, have lower stress levels, have better immune function, and live longer and healthier lives. Again, the next 3 slides, they again talk about different doctors, different parts of the world, different studies, and it keeps telling you how stress can. And there's a very good study by Dr. Kelly McGonigal, and she says that there's a TED Talk with her which says how to make stress your friend. You can look it up. And she says that how stress can be beneficial if you approach it with the mindset of seeking support and connection. Support and connection. She explains that helping others during stressful times can lower the harmful impacts of the stress on yourself. We all know this, that one of the longest studies done about social connection and brain, it tells that the people who live the longest lives are those who have the health, are not those who are rich, who are not those who are healthy, who are like physically fit, are not those who are highly intelligent, but they are those who have fostered good social connections with their families, with their friends, with their neighbors, who have given to the community. It helps them balance a good, healthy life. Next slide, please. Next, I've talked about this. Yep. So the community involvement and helping others. Maria, over to you.
So, of course, Irum, thank you for sharing that. So as Irum discussed earlier, what has been proven in psychological, sociological studies with depression, mental health, and stress-related disorders, and what has worked is community involvement and helping others. So it often seems like strange, but I'm feeling extremely stressed. I don't have time to work for my community. I don't have time to go to the food pantry. I don't have time to help my neighbor. But have you ever taken a time and say you stepped out of a situation, you have to help your child at a school, help with the PTA meeting, and the immense reward that you feel, the immense gratification that you get for like helping others, it has a positive feedback to our physiological health. It sets off a cascade of physiological events where it can uplift our mood and down-regulate our cortisol, our stress hormones. And so, I know it seems like pretty antithetical to how you're feeling. Well, I'm super stressed and I don't have time for this, but I challenge you, right? So helping others doesn't have to be going to a food pantry, driving 30 miles out and going to a food pantry. It could be just helping somebody in the house, helping somebody with their homework, just talking to a friend and helping them through a situation or helping them understand their situation. It could be just, going out and helping your neighbor unload the groceries. It's just simple as that. Next slide. Go ahead, Irum.
I was just going to add that I think I met Maria about 4 or 5 months ago. It was in September. And that day, I was particularly stressed. The reason was there was a lapse in our communication, and I was supposed to meet her, or she was supposed to meet me, and I was supposed to be there. And I missed the timeline. And then I felt extremely guilty. This is just a personal story about stress and about physiological health. And so somehow I showed up I texted Maria and I said, you know what, I'm still coming over. And she said, okay, come over. So immediately the social connection, as soon as she said, okay, come over, that opening, that okay was a huge relief for me. The thing is, we think that we don't have this capacity or we don't have the power to relieve our own stress, but seeking out social connections, seeking out friendships, getting in touch with the people that you trust or you think you will be able to trust in the future too. Some people might say, oh, I don't have such strong friendships, or I don't have such strong family connections. And that's okay. That's life. We understand that. But you need to learn to be courageous enough to reach out, to have those social connections. And so what she did was I showed up at the door. She with the most welcoming smile, she said, okay, come in. And I don't know what it was. Maybe I was looking as if I was famished or something. She said, eat this. And it was healthy. It was something healthy that she had cooked up. And I was like, oh, wow. And then I just started eating. And then so I started feeling good. Now I have a good friend who opened her heart and door to me. And then she fed me. And then she gave me a good cup of tea as well. And all my stress was gone. It all ended well.
Oh, that's a nice story to share. I didn't know you were stressed.
I was.
You didn't show it. Yeah. So just to conclude, we don't need studies to show this, but unfortunately, we do live in a world to prove this. Strong social support system. I really urge my clients that if you don't have a family close to you, if you are estranged from your family, find social support systems in your at the local food pantry, at the local food bank, at your church. Churches or faith-based community centers are a great place to find like-minded people. Maybe you belong to a chess club. Maybe you belong to an after-school club. Maybe there's something that you can do that can help build more friendships, build a base of people who you can rely on for support. And then work on hope and contentment. When we have increased hope and contentment, then we have a higher likelihood of down-regulating our stress. When we are able to down-regulate our stress, that means we are helping ourselves at a molecular and cellular level.
Yes.
Right? You're doing yourself a big favor, right?
Absolutely.
Putting that smile on somebody's face, giving them hope, okay, or putting a smile on your face is having an impact at a cellular level. And that I'm a faith-based woman, so I like to believe that there is a divine plan for something that I may think like, I don't know why this is happening to me. I'm not quite sure, but there must be a reason. And I have lived, 3 to 4 decades of my life, and I have known that things that I have cried over, which I didn't get, now I understand why I didn't get them. I get it now, right? I see why I asked for certain something and it wasn't given to me. And I was like, yeah, okay. I should have had more faith in the one who created me, that wasn't the best course of action. And the things that I have had, I know they have been given to me because I would benefit from them. So anyway, having a belief in divine plan, increasing your hope and contentment, and building strong social support system, whether that could be your pets, you enjoy going to the local pet shelter and spending time with lovely canines and felines, right? If that makes you feel happy and content, then it's reducing your stress hormones. So please, find how can you, maybe there's one category you do really well in, but there's another category you don't do well in. So look at this. Now, I've got a question saying, what's the best supplement you recommend? Again, this presentation was not designed to recommend any supplements. We do want you to consider making an appointment with any of the providers at the Center of Integrative Psychiatry. We take telehealth visits. We do take in-person visits as well. I'll be happy to help you look at your individual health. And because I'm, just randomly throwing supplements, it's a cookie cutter approach. So if I say, go ahead, take ashwagandha. For some people, ashwagandha is not recommended. For people who have extremely low cortisol, I don't recommend ashwagandha. So, so there is the reason I practice functional psychiatry is because I know there's no cookie cutter approach. We practice personalized medicine designed just for you. So you're welcome to make an appointment with the next slide, please. At the Center for Integrative Psychiatry. Irum is a life coach, and I know she's an excellent life coach to help us understand our goal setting and how to achieve our goals. And I'm here as a pharmacist to help you understand your medications, your supplements, to understand what else can you do besides taking medications. And we have excellent providers should you choose the route of taking medications. We have excellent providers who also understand how functional psychiatry is important, how integrative psychiatry is important, how all components of psychiatry are important for a better management of your health. Thank you for your time. We'd be happy to take any questions we have. I think we have a few minutes.
Yes, we do.
What's the length of time that would make stress be considered chronic? So there is no magical length of time. So I say to anyone, anything that is impacting your health, right? So say you are unable to sleep, you have been afflicted with certain situation, and then and it's been affecting your sleep, affecting your mood during the day, it's affecting how you're eating, it's affecting your gut, then I would say that you are probably chronically stressed, right? So it could be 2 days worth of stress that you have been, I would consider chronic stress. So there's no timeline.
Especially if you see there are cognitive and emotional changes, if you see that there's, like Maria said, disruptive sleep patterns, if there is an impact on your relationships, if you find yourself snapping at little things, and which is not your regular way of communication with your loved ones, definitely something is up. So if you want to start with yourself and you want to just see or get a feel of, okay, let me do some breathing exercises, let me go out for a walk, let me get myself more hydrated, why am I getting a headache? But do a check-in with yourself. Every person can actually do a check-in with themselves. That is self-care. That is self-care. Yeah. Maria has a very good way of self-care. I love her stories on teas, the teas that she makes and she brews and she drinks, and then I want all those teas.
Yes.
Teas are also good for stress relief.
Yes. Any other questions we have? 2 minutes. No question is a bad question or a silly question. All questions are welcome. And you're welcome to email us. If you can have the contact information back on, please. You're welcome to email us or visit our website or give us a call, and we'll be happy to help you. Okay, so you can email at admin@texascip.com. Okay, thank you for your time, everyone. Appreciate you all dialing in Friday evening. Hope you have a lovely weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.